making time for what's important. I thought, well, not just come to me today, but I've observed this over a period of time, years, how people sometimes make excuses for what's not important to them. And we as people need to cipher through BS when persons are telling us things that are not really making sense and we buying it year after year, day after day. We may have a friend or we might be in a relationship, whatever the situation, because people are people. And yes, sometimes we have situations because we all come across situations in our life that keep us really occupied and, drain our resources, our human resources and our availability, which include also our time. But it has been my observation over the years that no matter how much time or how busy a person is, they always make time for what is important to them. They always make the effort to make the time for what is important to them. And in other situations, they don't. They will give you the story that, girl, I'm real busy. I have so much of things on my plate. I'm doing so much of things these days. And them days that they're talking about, just roll into months. Sometimes it roll into years. But they never had the time. And we will sit around, some of us sit around and wait. And we hoping for people to make time or make room for you. And it's time to wake up and smell the BS. Because I have seen situations, in the observation of even in close relationship with people living in the same house. Husband and wife living in the same house. Family members or whatever the case may be. And they don't have time for each other and they're living in the same house because they're so busy. They're just passing each other or they're just passing through. And even when they're home, they're either sleeping or they're gone. As they wake up, they're gone. And you as a wife or you as a husband might be waiting for this person to make some time for you. And they keep getting excuses. Or you're in a relationship with the person and they keep getting excuses. Or it's a friendship you have with a friend and they're always too busy now, And yes, we understand at times you have to make the sacrifice and understand that, yes, things are not the way it used to be. And you had to adjust and you had to, make a little room to get them room to do whatever they had to do. But there's also a place where that is no longer acceptable. Because if a person in a relationship, no matter how busy they are, or they pick up a woman or they pick up a man, no matter how busy they are, no matter how much children they have to see about, no matter what they have to do, they just make time, They just make time to go by that outside woman or make time to go by that outside man and still come home and tell you they have no time, They're always still busy, But that outside woman getting part of the time that they're so busy doing. So really, it's not that they don't have time. What they're really telling you is that you're not important enough to them for them to make the time for you. And that is really the message that they're trying to tell you. But you can't read it because you're telling yourself, they're really busy. But I have always said, I don't accept that as an excuse because anything that's important to you, just make time for it. So sometimes even in our life, when we ourselves don't make time for certain things that we want to achieve or certain goals that we want to achieve at, or even make time to pray. Sometimes even as Christian people, or believers in God, we going after God, but we need more time to give God a 5 minutes in the morning come because we don't have time. What you're really saying is that is not important to you. Whatever you're not making time for, what you're saying is that it is not important to you. And it's time for you, whoever, in whatever situation, to understand that what is not important. If you're not important to somebody, then don't give that person that kind of importance that they want from you. Because they will make time for you when you stop giving them the importance and you stop waiting around for them to make time for you. Because people don't appreciate things until it's no longer there. As the old people say, it's only when you lost it, then you just realize it. You know, as long as it's there, they take it for granted, and that is something in human nature. We all do, including myself. That's why I tell people, do not spoil me. You know, do not spoil me, because spoiling somebody could make them take it for granted. And it's a ticklish balance between putting a stop to things as opposed to allowing things to continue to go to a place where you start to be taken for granted. And we had to learn that balance. We had to learn when is a mark. We had to set a mark for ourselves, how much BS we go take or how much time we will allow people to give us excuses before they step up, or we're going to say it to ourselves, we're going to sit down and just accept excuses year after year, day after day, month after month, hour after hour. You had to put a mark for yourself, a benchmark. Everybody had to establish a benchmark for themselves. Okay, I will make time, I will make room, I will put up, I will give you space to do certain things. But if you realize that this time that this person is talking about is continuing to go on with inevitably, it's time for you to say, listen, you see this? I feel I'm getting to the point where I'm realizing that I am not important enough to this person for them to make time for me or to make room for me or to do whatever they need to do in reference to me. And here what's happening. It's time for me to put a stop date, because I realize now that I am being taken for granted. And you see, that taken for granted is a serious, serious error that people just do in life, and is one of the biggest mistakes people just make. Because sometimes you make a person feel so secure and comfortable with you that they really don't see you as a point of, it's not that they don't like you, it's not that they don't really appreciate you, you know. But because you have made them so secure, they tell themselves that you will always be a part of their life, you will always do what you had to do for them, they could always count on you. But the thing about it is that they could always count on you, but you can't always count on them. And what happens, as I say, is that you eventually will come to the place where I am not being able to count on you the way you could count on me. And I am willing to do for you what you are not willing to do for me. So therefore, I need to get myself out of that scenario. And you know what is amazing to me? When you pull outside now because you may have been giving them room and they're not making the time or they're not doing what they had to do. And when you pull aside, you know these people are the most hurt and bitter people and vexed. Because here when I'm telling themselves, look at how she or he start to move with me and they start to hurt me and they look at what they do to me and they go on and on about it. You know, and they vex with you when you now start to move in a different manner and they start to see now which part you're not as dependable as they thought you was, because now they thought you was going to be there, but they realize, you know, every time they look for you now, you seem as though you're not there. You're no longer there. Because if you're not getting time from them, or they can't give you what you want from them, eventually you're going to start to look for somebody who will give you what you want. Because obviously, if you're asking for something, it's because you need it. And if you're not getting it, then you're going to look for it elsewhere. Because if you go to fetch water and the well you're going to fetch water at is dry, would you continue to go to a dry well to get water when in truth and in fact it have no water in the well? Aren't you going to look for another water source? You will sit down by the dry well and wait for water to come or pray for rain to come to get water to drink? Well, you're going to die by that well. So you need to move and seek out another water source. Because if it's water you want, then you have to look for water. So when you come now and they realize, oh, you're no longer by the well waiting, they just be more hurt and shocked by you and by your actions. But the fact is, their actions always speaks louder than their words. So you can tell me, yes, you can tell me you're too busy, you can tell me you don't have time, you can tell me that you're important, but if you're not showing that you're important in your actions, then your words is nothing. Your words are empty. Your words are empty because you can see by your behavior, because you see people are motivated by what is important to them. and what they value. And if they're not making time for you, then you're carrying very little value in their life. You don't have much value. That is, if you have any at all to them. But you will have value when you leave, because then they will realize sometimes whatever they was getting from you is missing now. They realize, oh gosh, a part of something that I was receiving that was helping me, gone. So sometimes it's not because they don't care, but sometimes we need to put our foot down before and start to know our worth and value ourselves, and stop being so available to people who are not making themselves available to you.